Agit Kabayel is the most dangerous heavyweight in the division right now. And I feel like we have not seen the full potential of Kabayel. I just feel like there's more to come from this man. And I'm quite excited to see where he goes with his career and the sort of fights he takes going forward. But I think his style is an absolute nightmare for each and every heavyweight in the division right now. But Kabayel is fighting this weekend against this guy, right? Damian Knyba. Now, Damian Knyba is someone that I don't know much about, but I've seen some of his, highlights, and he looked decent. As you can see here on his box rec, 17 fights, zero, losses and zero draws. He's got 11 KOs. As you can see, he's a polished fighter, 29 years old over here. And he's a massive guy. The guy is 6'7". So look, he's a big guy. He's a big target. That means that Caballero is going to get a massive target to aim at. And I don't think he can miss, because when he's fighting big guys, we saw him fight the likes of, Gilles Zhang, who are massive guys as well. And, Caballero went to the body. He went to the body. He used his footwork very well. He used his jab, and he put on educated pressure in that fight against Gilles Zhang. So when he's fighting guys that are big and it's a big target like, Damian Knyba, I think he's got a lot of opportunities to land some really good shots. But look, I don't think Knyba is some, world beater, as you can see. I look on his record and there's no fighter that, that is well known. I know about Joey Dueiko, who I think is a good sparring partner for a lot of, heavyweights. But apart from that, I scroll down onto his record and, in his 17 fights, there's nobody on the record that I think is a great fighter. But look, this is the heavyweight division, and Agit Kabayel, would have to, defeat Damian Knyba, to be able to show that he can go on to the next step. Now, I don't think this guy is going to be a big challenge to Kabayel. I see Kabayel, getting this guy out of there within 6 rounds. I think, as I said, his body is there to be attacked. His body is there, to be hit. And we know Agit Kabayel, he is a tremendous body puncher, right? He's an incredible fighter. Just really, it's just very... He's a good fighter, but I wouldn't say unorthodox, right? He's not an orthodox fighter. He is a very good, fundamental sort of fighter. He's got good jab. He's got good footwork. He can punch, but he can take a shot as well. We saw that in the Gilles Zhang fight. He got knocked down, he got up, and he won the fight. And one thing that I always sort of use to measure if a fighter has got the ability to do some great things in the sport is I look at whether they're able to come back from behind when they're losing a fight, right? If they're able to, get back from a knockdown and change the trajectory of a fight. And Kabayel has been able to do that so far in his career. So, there's a lot that I think, he can bring, to the heavyweight division, especially with a lot of matchups that I think he would get. But look, this weekend, he has to get the job done against Damian Knyba. And then the world is his oyster, because I think there's so many good fights in the heavyweight division that Agit Kabayel can take. I mean, I will make him a favorite over everybody in the division right now, except Alexander Usyk. Like, seriously, Agit Kabayel versus Daniel Dubois. I'll pick Kabayel to beat Daniel Dubois. Kabayel versus, Fabi Wardley. Right now, although Fabi Wardley, is a very unorthodox fighter. You don't know what you're going to get, but you know that he's coming to fight and he's coming to knock you out. But I think Kabayel is much more proven. I think he's more fundamentally solid. I think Kabayel hits hard, and I think Kabayel is an incredible body puncher. And I think that, is a style that could beat someone like a Fabi Wardley. So look, Kabayel, I would pick him over every fighter right now in the division. But there's this particular interview that Kabayel did with Ring Magazine that I thought it would be good to sort of hear the sort of things that he said on. And this particular part of the interview, I think, was really interesting to see what he thought, right? So let's have a listen to this, and then we can sort of discuss this further.
My question is, who's that fight for you? That dream fight that's going to put you on that pound for pound, like, whoa, we got to watch out for this guy.
I hate trash talk. First about I fight with Damian Knyba, and after Damian Knyba make one more interview, and maybe I say one name more. I think for me it's the biggest fight when I fight with Usyk. He never lost in his career. I never lost in my career. Why not? Kabayel versus Usyk.
Okay, Kabayel.
Kabayel versus Usyk. Do you know what? There's a few people in the comment section of some of my videos where I've talked about Kabayel or even Usyk, and they've mentioned that they feel like Kabayel right now is the fighter that could give Usyk the most trouble. And when I think about it, I do not disagree with that because, as I said, his style is really difficult to fight against because he knows that, the body is there to be hit. A lot of heavyweights, they like to headhunt. They like to go to the head and try and get the knockout. Kabayel, systemically, right, will try and break his opponents down. And that is by going to the body. That's by landing some really good jabs. Really crafting his way with, educated pressure when he's fighting. And that is always very dangerous for, fighters to fight against that sort of style. Now, Alexander Usyk is definitely a very different animal. And I think, to beat Alexander Usyk, you have to beat him in every department in that ring. And that's very hard to do. And the reason why Alexander Usyk has been undefeated, in my opinion, is because nobody can beat Alexander Usyk in every department in the ring. And I think, Kabayel, this guy, he would be able to do that, but it's going to be one heck of a fight. And I think, Usyk, if you cannot beat Usyk in terms of, I'll work Usyk, then you cannot beat Usyk. And I'm not sure that Kabayel has the ability to outwork Usyk just yet, right? Usyk is getting old, although he doesn't look like he's slowing down, but Usyk's just human, and his body is not going to be the same that it was, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago. So, look, I think Kabayel, stands, or he has a very good chance of beating someone like Alexander Usyk. But it would be interesting to see if Usyk, would be happy to take on the Kabayel fight, because when Usyk decided not to, fight Fabio Wardley, I made a video saying that I think Kabayel should be next in line for the shot against Alexander Usyk, because I thought he's deserved the opportunity, right? He's fought some really good fighters, Kabayel, and I feel like right now, apart from Usyk, and I know that Fabio Wardley is the WBO champion. However, I think Kabayel is number 2 in the division right now because I think he's more proven. I think he's fought better fighters than Fabio Wardley. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get that Usyk fight. I think that's a fight that, a lot of people, including myself, would love to see. But this Saturday, he's got a task on his hand, and that is to beat this guy, 6'7", Polish, who would come to fight, Damian Knyba will come to fight. And as I said, I think Kabayel will get rid of Knyba between, 6 rounds. I think it's going to be an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to covering that fight. So, make sure you're tuned in on the channel so you can see my reactions. And if you would do a watch along, a live watch along for this fight, I'll let you guys know on Saturday or maybe tomorrow, Friday. But look, I'm looking forward to Agit Kabayel proving himself in the heavyweight division, because I think right now he's probably the most dangerous heavyweight in the division. Get in the comment section, guys. Get in the comment section and let me know what you think about Agit Kabayel, and what do you think about Agit Kabayel's chances in the heavyweight division if he fought any other fighter, including Alexander Usyk. What do you think? Do you give him any chance at all? Let me know in the comment section below.